Hello and welcome to the UnDateable Me Podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Lard, the Sock Snob, and this is our weekly show that talks about the struggles of relationships and dating. But we don't just talk about the problems. Oh, no. We are on a journey to find solutions, and we do so in a very entertaining way because yet another week, the twins have made their appearance. All right, but we're also going to be a little vulnerable in here as well. And in this episode, Holly and I are talking about partnerships, going 50-50 in a relationship. But sometimes that doesn't work. Let's go.
I see you hanging around, but I don't have much to say to you. Don't know what you're waiting for. Guess you think I'm playing with you. Ever since you walked out, I know I changed the locks on me. There ain't nobody getting I'm doing fine by myself, and I like it. I've been doing things by myself. You should try it. When it was together, how the did you had me gone? Now I'm by myself, and it feels good to be alone.
Come on.
That's my favorite part.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wait, the
You're gonna be over here humming.
All right, let's go. Let's get into it. So, like I said, we're talking about partnerships within a relationship, and we have this idea that has been passed on to us, or perhaps even just that comes naturally to us, where we want to put 50-50 in a relationship because that's just what you're supposed to do, right? And beyond financials, so that could be, sharing responsibilities around the house or emotional responsibility, just trying to add some balance into a relationship so it doesn't all fall on one person's shoulders. But there's a problem with that. 50-50 does not always work. In fact, it should not always work. We want to be able to both contribute to a relationship, and we want to be able to contribute as equally as we can,
Right.
But that does not mean that it has to be 50-50, and definitely not all the time. Because let me tell you something. Sometimes you just ain't got it.
Period.
Sometimes you don't have it, whether it is financially, what happens when one partner makes significantly more than the other partner? Does that mean we still go 50-50 on the bills or whatever? No. What was that response, Holly?
No.
No. Right? But the same thing goes with emotionally and supporting, and you might be having a bad day today or something like that, right? And hey, your spouse or partner has to kick in a little extra,
right,
just to make things work. So that whole idea of us putting in 50-50 all the time, if I've been working all day, and we normally, you do laundry this time, I do laundry next time or whatever, right? But then on this particular week, you got shitted on all at work. Then you got shitted on by your kids' school, and you got this and that happened or whatever. And you just ain't got it in you to do that load of laundry or whatever. So that's why I say that sometimes that 50-50 thing in a relationship does not work.
No.
Like I said, you want to be as equitable as you can, but that doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case. And also, what was good last week might not be good this week, But how do you split sort of responsibilities in your relationship? And I should say this, sometimes I bring one thing to the table and somebody else brings something else to the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've been known to say, if you out here bringing home all the bacon and the bread and the butter, hey, I got something for you when you get home.
What you got? Look, guap 3,000.
That or whatever.
No.
Anyway, y'all so silly. I'm an angel. I do none of these things. But, sometimes, and I'm not saying, and I am in no way saying that.
Yes, you should. That man pay them bills. You do that.
Right. But again, sometimes we do different things to bring our part to the table. So, but in either case, go ahead. What were you about to say before I got ignorant? Okay, I'll shut up now.
No, I'm glad
so ashamed
that
of myself.
I'm glad that you touched on it more than just financials.
Yeah. Because
I think that people forget that a lot of the times. Because your partner could be making all the money in the world, but they lack on all this other stuff. So I think people have really beaten down that 50-50 financial thing. But you're right. I think that we go into it, me and my spouse work, and we both pick up shared responsibilities. I think that just by us living together and like knowing each other, we kind of know like each other's strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. I'm not taking out no trash. I'm sorry. I just won't do it.
And, when you think about other chores, like we split cooking. Well, what if this person, everything they cook tastes like dirt? You know what I mean? That may not be their strong point.
Right. Like, whatever your strengths is, that's what you contribute the most. Whatever your, I just so happen to like cooking. Like I do most of the cooking or whatever, but I enjoy when he off and he cooks. He's a better fryer than me. He's a little more creative.
Baby, I came to your house one time. And I swear, I think everybody in that house contributed to that meal. She was like, yeah, Jordan fried the pork chops. Baby Jordan made the greens. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't eat greens, but nonetheless, whatever. Yeah. But I was like, okay, look at y'all. Balance, everybody participating. And
yeah, because you got to think about it. Like you say, you might have had a bad week with, and I think that too. Mm-hmm. You fall into your roles naturally.
Yes. Yes. And if we're being honest and we are being careful up front when we start a relationship, you know how they say opposites attract. Mm-hmm. I agree with that to an extent. There has to be some common ground, of course, a common thread between the two of you to keep things together. But then when they talk about that opposites attract, that's what the way I take that is. I bring something to the table that you may not. Maybe I have a strong point in this area. You have a strong point in another area.
Yeah.
And, we put those together and we winning, right?
Yeah.
So definitely that.
And that's important.
Yeah. Because without it, like I said, you'll feel like one person's pulling all the weight. And I've been in those situations where a person
don't sugarcoat it.
Was not contributing, and it's not even that. I would have actually been okay with some appreciation or something. I'm just saying that's wrong, but I'm just saying. There was it was almost like the person got to the point where they expected me to do certain things.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's wrong with society too now, because a lot of people just expect to live this certain lifestyle, and because I'm gonna tell you, like, when people say 50-50, the first thing they think about is finance.
Yes, and
you got all these girls saying like, oh, I wouldn't do this or I wouldn't go 50-50, like. When we first got together, neither one of us had too much of shit. Mm-hmm. He had a little more than me, depending on, jobs and stuff like that. But, in reality, do we want that? Hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? But like you say, the emotional part come to it, the mental, because you could be with somebody and their mentality is messed up.
Absolutely. And we have to consider, like, individual needs when we talk about 50-50 because, you know, like I said, you could be having a bad week and you're just off your square and need extra support in that area. And it's that, you know what, baby, I got the dishes, or I got whatever, you know, something that you would normally do.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make room for that or whatever.
Listening.
Yeah. Oh God, listening. My headset is coming off. Let me get it back. There we go. See, if I had a partner, they could have pushed my headphones back on my head, but whatever. But I think as long as you are communicating what your needs are or whatever, then those things can get done, hopefully. I think we fail in the beginning sometimes, you know, people who are unequally yoked. And by the way, let me tell you, people have the wrong definition of that unequally yoked or whatever. And they actually don't even know what it's referring to. They think you're talking about egg yolks and shit, but it's yolks, Y-O-K-E, not Y-O-L-K.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you have like horses are yoked where, you know, each horse is pulling, you know,
the same amount of
equal amount of weight. That's what it's actually referring to. And sometimes that gets off. Well, guess what? The other horse has to bear the brunt of that and make up for it or whatever. And that's how it should be in relationships as well.
I'm going to sit here and pretend like I knew all along that meant horses. I did not once think that meant egg.
Yep. Giddy up. So, all right. Very good.
Now y'all know. We knew.
We knew. You know. So what was the last season? There was something. Oh, reciprocity. You were just, that was your new favorite word. All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, when I think about my ideal relationship, yes, you fall into roles or whatever. And by the way, I'm not one of these. I don't want to be one of these gay couples that, you know, first of all, y'all got to stop doing this. Y'all straight people. Which one the man and all this old shit or whatever, you know. I don't conform to like heteronormative values like that. Look, if I feel like cooking, I'm cooking. You know, it's something I enjoy doing.
Right.
Does that make me a woman? Am I putting on a dress? No. I don't have no vagina either. So, and also as of this date in history, I have never taken whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to be nice with the heterosexual over there in the corner engineering this session. So he like, I don't give a damn. Talk about booty sex.
That reminds me of Mitch and Cam.
What the fuck is Mitch and Cam? Oh, off of Modern Family?
Yes. When one of them was so pissed that they just automatically thought Cam was the wife. He's like, why
was the
would
bottom,
I be the woman?
the submissive one? Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't conform to that. And also I'm you know, people fall. Everything is a spectrum, right? So there's a scale, and you could be on one end or you could be dead in the center as far as masculinity or femininity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just I don't go out of my way to try to be extra masculine, and I'm also not one of the, hey girl, how you doing? You know, I'm also not that either. I'm just in the middle.
Just Jimmy.
And by the way, that don't mean I can't yes bitch every now and then, although I don't know that I ever have, but don't mean that I can't do it or whatever, you know.
Right.
So I'm just somewhere in the middle, and I'm just me. So I don't subscribe to that. But there are things I have no problem with cleaning the house. I have no problems with cooking and all of those types of things. Those don't bother me. And I can bring home the bacon. Because in most cases, I probably made more than the person I was dating anyway.
Oh, talk about it.
So I didn't even need you for that. You know who you are. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. So, but again, I think that you find your own rhythm in a relationship or in a partnership where, because like I said, sometimes you ain't got it. You know, I ain't got it to give. It could be the money. Like I said, I've never dated anybody for their money. Although, if the opportunity affords itself, I'm looking for an old Jewish dude named Marty. Real name is like Martin Goldberg. got a lot of money and a couple houses, and also people who like, oh, I want to date somebody with a lot of money. You better be careful what you ask God for. Don't just ask for somebody with a lot of money. Ask for somebody with a lot of money and they're generous with it, because I need you to share. But like I said, sometimes you ain't got it to give, and that's where your partner
makes up for
should
that.
kick in and make up for that. Yeah. And as a single person, that is something I miss. I've known glimpses of it in relationships in the past, but for the most part, I'm used to, hey, if I'm trying to figure out what to do about, this huge financial burden that has come up, or a tax bill or whatever, I just got to figure out how to do it. And I don't have anybody to throw in, hey, I got you, blah, blah,
Right.
or don't worry about paying for this. I'll take care of that. You focus on that. I don't know what that looked like. I want to know what it looked like. Marty, call me. So, it is what it is. But like I said, even other areas, if you fix cars, hey,
That's what you bring to the table.
run that, if we, I need these gutters clean and I don't want to climb my big ass up there. What I look like. Even though, let me tell you, I am the worst gay person ever, because before I sold my house, I was up on the second floor. The front of my house, there was I had an enclosed porch on the front. Tell me why my ass was up there on the roof painting.
You was?
I was, yes. I said, what? I said, I'm the worst gay person. I should have hired somebody for this. So.
Painting the whole time.
I don't know. Man. Right, yeah.
Damn.
And I'm fixing plumbing in my house. I'm like, what is going on here? This ain't me. So no, just.
But you can't.
There's a lot of stuff I can. My father was a mechanic. I can change my own oil.
You can?
I'm not. But I can't. I know how. Hell, I'm not even changing my own tire. Can I? Yes. So, but,
Right.
That's just not my thing. And I would prefer to date somebody who, if something happened or whatever, you can be like, hey, babe, guess what? I was driving and ... Oh, don't worry about it. I'm on my way. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. My favorite words. So,
even if you got the financial ability and you can't do it,
listen,
I called somebody. They on their way.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Because you know what? I can save that money. That money can be a trip to Paris.
Y'all heard that? Hawaii.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
We like Paris. Yeah.
Oh, Paris. Look,
Yeah.
I thought that was another foreign place.
That's how they would say it. But anyway, so I would rather save that money and put it to something else if that's the case. And like you said, if I need to, I got it. Like I said, I've been single for so long that I'm used to being able to do that. But what do you think? What other challenges come in trying to strive for that 50-50 relationship?
I think some people are missing their blessing because they overlook those things we just talked about.
Yeah.
They overlook that, he might not could keep a steady job, but he could do this, he can do that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it saves you a little money here and there.
Absolutely.
And this person can love you to death, because a lot of, like you said, a lot of people look at it financially and be like, oh, I can't be with this person. They don't make enough money. They don't do this. But they overlook that this person keep the house clean. This person watching the kids. This person love you.
This person lay that pipe
good.
So
they not lazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I enjoy it that when I get off work, I come home, the room be clean, food be cooked. You know what I mean?
See, that would be me. That's what I would do. Yeah.
That's things like that go a long way. And I think that the problem is a lot of people are overlooking it, trying to get to a place where they don't have to do 50-50.
Yeah.
That, because they have that financial mentality.
Yep. And I think another challenge or issue with it is just getting burnt out. Sometimes you need a break from your routine.
Yeah.
That's why vacations matter.
Oh, they do.
Sometimes you just need a break from your routine, So partner being able to, like I was saying earlier, be able to say, you know what, I got the laundry. You cool. I see it looked like you had a bad day. Whatever. Now, don't be sitting up milking that now. But nonetheless, sometimes, like I said, it's easy for us to get burnt out. And when it's something that your partner could have just kicked in and done.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What else? Listen, and when I say earlier, I just thought about this. When I say that sometimes I ain't got it, I just don't have the energy to do what I normally do. That day, it might be 80-20 and not 50-50. That day, it might be 100-0 if I'm in a really bad space. We overlook our mental health so much in life. We do it for work. We overlook it at, this and that or whatever, I've had friends over the years who have had nervous breakdowns and, all out issues, mental health issues, just from being overstressed, overtaxed, and so on. And one thing I will say, and this is not to speak badly about this new generation coming up, really the last couple, but this new generation, I'm sorry, but they are not built the same.
They not.
Just like we perhaps were not built like our parents, whatever. But this new generation, I'm telling you, they are not, you just have to have some understanding with it, but they don't take as much. It's easier for them to break than I think we were. So
that part you are not lying about, because I see it in my kids, and I be like, oh my God, like.
And we're contributing to it. We baby them in areas that we didn't need to baby them. We do for them things that they could have done for themselves.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but if you old enough to talk and walk around and make a mess, you old enough to clean it up. Mm-hmm. So, I say that even with my grandkids. I'm like, look, they are old enough to put this shit away when they done. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and you just keep building on that. But, I think we have a more fragile generation coming along. So mental health is something that we have to be conscious of. So if there is something that you can do to make your partner's day better, then do it. And I'm pretty sure that they would be appreciative of that. So
yeah, I heard something. I can't remember where it was at, but it might have been a show or another podcast. Podcast not as good as this one, but
fuck them.
But it said something like, be your partner's peace when they get home. Mm-hmm. And I'm working on that because, when you do get off from a long day of fake laughing with your coworkers and, dealing with kids and all this other stuff, don't nobody want to go home to nagging and stuff like that. I ain't say I don't do it.
Right.
I don't do it as much.
And I will say that we sometimes fall into this trap of nagging. Or I know he didn't leave his pants on the floor again. Well, wait till he come home. Whatever. And it's like all the energy you've put in getting upset.
Just pick it up.
Pick that shit up and threw it into the laundry basket and kept on going with your life.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So sometimes we have this thing where we, I gotta let him know. He needs to know I'm not the maid around here or that type of thing. It's like, it's not that serious sometimes,
I'm laughing because I'm going to say something because, why the fuck didn't you just put it back?
Right.
Why you just didn't put the top on this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm not, it's not a serious thing where I'm going to be, so upset about it.
Right.
I'm going to say what I got to say, but it's done with.
And,
you know what I mean?
Have your own therapeutic moment. When you put the top back on and be like, oh, stupid motherfucker. And, get that just gets off your chest. You ain't necessarily even got to say it to them.
That's true.
You just got it off your chest.
Dumbass.
Right.
Take it.
Okay. Oh, stupid ass can't put clothes in a hamper, huh? So, there, like I said, there's that. But being that piece that somebody needs, will go a long way.
It do.
You know,
Because that makes you want to come home.
That'll get you them vacations.
Yes.
You know, and all the other stuff that you want. I think that people genuinely want to be appreciated for what they do. So hopefully that person in exchange also, you know, if you were picking up extra slack on their behalf, or it's just your normal routine to do A, B, C, and D, that they, you know, come to you and say, hey, babe, you know what? Thanks so much. You know what? I booked you a little spa appointment or whatever.
Aww.
Anybody that want to date me, let me tell you something. All is better if you book me a spa appointment. We could have been mad as hell with each other, but you go ahead and book that spa appointment for me. Give me that full body scrub and a massage.
Everything's better.
And you know these nails got to get done. So I've said it before. I can be homeless and sleeping in my car. These nails gonna get done.
Baby, these nails.
So right. So, you know, but like I said, I think we just need to find ways, you know, building a partnership, not just, you know, F buddies and not just, you know, this, you know, there are other aspects of a relationship that are important. And I think for me, that's one of the things I strive for, at least. That's what my next level is, you know, finding a partnership.
Yeah. And I'm glad we're having these conversations, you know, because I think a lot of the times, like, how people get things wrong or things didn't work out. Because I've seen couples, you'd be like, man, they were like the best couple. They just couldn't figure it out.
Right.
And I think these conversations are coming up more and more that are needed because you just have people that just don't know.
Yeah. And some people didn't have good examples in their own home. You know, they have parents who were either never a couple or divorced or something like that. So you didn't see a good example there. And then you got friends who are fighting like cats and dogs. And some people thinking that, oh, well, that's just normal or what, you know what I mean? So when you don't have those good examples in your life of what a good relationship looks like, then sometimes how would you expect them to know?
Right. And ain't nothing wrong with taking a little good advice and applying it and making yourself better. I know I'm all for that. I run that stuff back through my mind sometimes, like at the end of the night when I'm just up thinking and like can't really sleep. I'd be like, dang, I should have did this. I should have did that. Or I shouldn't have said this. You know what I mean? To just hopefully the next day, even if I do make that mistake again, I'm striving to do it better the next time.
And it would be, you know, like you said, with advice, I'm always one that's seeking knowledge and, you know, how to do things better. But when somebody gives me good advice, I appreciate it. I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, well, you know, I just got to experience it for myself. No, I don't.
No. Right.
No. I saw your dumb ass fall off the cliff. What do I need to then experience it for myself? Or no, I don't. So when I observe a good relationship, I pick up the points that make that relationship good.
Even the bad stuff sometimes,
Even
too.
the bad stuff. Listen, everything is a lesson. So we learn from the good and the bad. And I'm appreciative of good things in my life that have happened as well as bad things. Because I've pulled something from each one of those situations. So, you know. But yeah, like I said, I just think that we get so caught up on, you know, some of the silly things or whatever, and the things that, you know, like, oh, I can't post that. You know, I can't post that good gesture that he did, you know, but I can post a restaurant and all, you know what I mean? We went out, you know, we like to do that type of things. Those types of things. But those good gestures are just as important. You should be on Facebook and TikTok and everything else bragging on the fact that he did the laundry and you didn't have to. Or
the bed was
he took the
up.
Kids to school and you didn't have to. Or, you know, things that were in your normal routine where they help lighten the load, you know, for you. So that's my thought.
I like that. I try to be appreciative. I try to sit and show
you
it.
know, you say I try a lot.
I do. You know why? Because I fuck up every now and then. and I'm going to be better the next time.
There you go. Maybe. Because, y'all, dip back into season 1. when Holly talked about when she was hiding in the trunk of the car and when Holly done did some shit out here. But
I'm trying,
listen,
y'all.
she
I was trying.
hopefully none of those things have happened between these two seasons. So, whew, girl, I'll be praying for you, and I definitely be praying for Jordan.
It's work.
Yeah.
And I, we talked about, being in a relationship, being single and dating, and all of it is work.
Yeah. And another thing I was going to say too is that, gender sometimes plays a role for you heterosexuals, because we have this idea that certain things are associated with a woman doing and certain things are associated with a man doing or whatever, right? He takes out the trash. I cook, clean, do this or whatever. He takes the cars to the car wash. He does this. And so, you know what I mean? So we have these traditional normative values that have been passed on because, that's what we saw on TV or that's what our parents did. But like I said, sometimes he has to go and put the chicken in the oven. He has to do whatever. And sometimes you got to take the car and fill it up.
What?
Or whatever. Yes,
I do
baby.
have to get
sometimes
up to the gas
you have
station.
to, right.
Baby, I
and
would
get
drive
out.
on E.
Okay.
He tells me about that all the time. Your car on E. But you know what? I like the traditional roles sometimes.
You like running out of gas, goddammit? You better
I'll call you. I'll call somebody. I ran out of gas.
Okay.
Goddammit. I don't know. Maybe it depends on the person.
You won't believe what happened, though.
He can believe it. He'll believe it.
I love it. But yeah, no, but I think that, like I said, we have those traditional roles. And sometimes, unfortunately, the women get the short end of the stick on that. Because especially today, there was a time, with my grandparents where, the husband worked and the
woman stayed at
she
home.
was a housewife and, she was just taking care of the house, blah, blah, blah. But you mean to tell me we both working 40 hours and then you somehow have this idea that I am the one to do this, and this, and you just come home and, slide your big ass up to the table and I'm supposed to have your plate ready, or, you know what I mean? So now, if that's y'all's arrangement, then I want to see, again, some appreciation. How do I then show you that I appreciate you doing those things that would make you want to continue doing it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe that's how you got that trip to Bali y'all just came off of, or Indonesia. Y'all was, Thailand. That's right. You was in Thailand.
I'm going to give a little gawk for the Bali. Don't worry about it.
And I don't want to give the impression that, every time you go on a trip, it's Jordan, just whatever. I'm sure both of y'all work hard and, save up money or whatever.
I'm taking him to Cabo. So
See, I love it.
And this month, yeah.
But
you're right. But I'm to speak on like old traditional ways. My granddad said something to me that always stuck with me. He said, a man's job is from dusk to dawn. A woman's job is never done, and whoever thought that women should go to work and make their own money, like, why did y'all fight for that? Like,
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, because a little bit older than you. And I remember when, you were a woman, you couldn't get your own credit card in your own name or whatever without your husband signing for it.
So I could mess up his credit?
But I remember when they could go upside your head and it was common to do so.
No.
And when the police come, they're like, well, nothing we can do, it's domestic and whatever. So y'all got some short ends of the stick, especially when it came down to y'all. Because I remember some folks in my family just getting their butts whooped on the regular by their husbands. So
really,
and I was like, now y'all carry guns and shit now or whatever. So, but yeah, so I think that was the case. And when you were in the workplace, a man
Sexual
might be
harassment.
making more money than you, and the two of you are doing the same job. What?
Yeah.
So I get it. So we don't want to negate all of the
just the good stuff for us.
accomplishments that
Right.
women have made and understand why they had to be made. But, like you said, listen, I would rather not do some of these things. So, Marty, if you're out there listening,
Good old Martin.
right. And we can hire folks to clean and
Mhm.
no, I'm just saying, I personally don't have a problem with doing that type of stuff. So,
Yeah, like I said, I think it's the person who you choose or who you with.
now what really sucks though is if you got that husband or that wife who think they can cook. And you be like, nah, babe, you ain't even got to cook tonight. No, I got this new recipe. Like, oh, damn, here we go again, so.
I sure be like, you sure you like it? It's good?" You ain't eat all of it.
As Jordan would say, what the?
He be like, I'm tired. I'm like, all right now.
Hell no. Oh my God. All right. But again, I think, as we are on this journey to do better in our relationships, I think we just need to be conscious of the other person, like I said, because they can't always do the things that they normally do in a relationship. So sometimes we have to pick up that slack.
Yes.
So 50-50 should not, that should just be sort of a baseline.
Mhm.
And then from there, it could change from day to day, from week to week, and month to month.
Yeah.
No different than if, there was something significant happening in your life. It's winter and at your job, all of a sudden, every year in December, it gets real busy and you work an extra 2 or 3 hours every night. Well, then why wouldn't, if there was something at home that I would normally do, January through November, you mean to tell me I can't just kick in a little bit extra that December?
Exactly.
So that's
mindful of
yeah.
the things.
Yeah. So again, if you ain't got it, don't try and do 50-50. You're going to mess yourself up, So if all you got is 20, let her or him bring that 80, this
and you're
week
a partner
or whatever.
that's okay with you bringing that 20 at that moment.
In that moment, yeah. Like I said, now let me tell you something. You could stay your ass at 20 all year long if you want.
Be by yourself with them 20.
Okay, he gonna have his 80% over with his other woman. So
That's true.
All right, that's it for today's episode. Make sure you check us out on youtube.com/Sock Snob Films and check out the podcast tab. And then we are also on all available platforms, all podcast platforms. So make sure that you like, subscribe where appropriate. All right, take it easy, y'all. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe.
I see you hanging around, but I don't have much to say to you.